everyone, we're back again, and this is a review for a game. First of all, I'm Lehew.
I'm Paige.
This is a review for a game that, well, is a couple years old. Came out in 2010, but it got re-released this year. So we thought it was appropriate to review it, and as of right now, it's the only exclusive game that I'm aware of for this big clunk. And we planned on having this review done
A while ago.
August.
Yeah.
We both got it July. We were like, we can get it done by August. No problem. Oh, how wrong we were. We're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 3DS.
I don't even know where to start with this one because it's just a big chunk of time.
It's so big. It's so, like, I guess we could start by saying, like, it's impressive that they put this much on a 3DS game. This is the biggest handheld game I've ever seen in my life.
You can totally tell why it's exclusive to the new 3DS.
Oh yeah, there's no way that this could have gone. I even argue, like, even the Vita would have had problems with it. Maybe not. I mean, there's some pretty big JRPGs on the Vita now that I think about it. Soul Sacrifice.
You're the Vita expert with...
There's a game called Soul Sacrifice on the Vita that's massive. Like, just massive. But this is easily the biggest game I've ever seen on the 3DS.
Yeah.
But this is a game, like we said, came out 2012. I said 10 at the beginning, but then I remembered it's actually 12. It was made in 2010 and released in Japan, and then there was a huge fan campaign to bring it over here. And it was released as a GameStop exclusive over here for the Wii, which I still don't understand to this day.
Just the Wii version in general, I'm just not a fan of.
It's not bad. I mean, it's just... It suffers the same thing as, like, most big games on the Wii, where it's like, because I got it over the summer on the Wii. I managed to somehow find it at GameStop and just used a bunch of coupons to get it for a good price. I played it on the Wii U, which for all Wii games it high-reses the graphics. Ooh, it does not do that game any favors. It does not do that game any favors doing that.
I remember getting the text from you and being like, yeah, so this game's really good except for the graphics. And I'm like looking at my 3DS going like, the graphics are pretty good though. Like, I don't know what you mean.
It just, I don't know. So like, I dumped the Wii version as soon as I got the new 3DS. Because this is, with a big RPG like this, it's nice to have it to play it wherever. Because then you could just slowly knock it out because, as you and I can attest to, it takes a very long time to get through this game.
I honestly don't know how you got through it so quickly when I think I had it for a good month or two before you and I'm still...
Oh, you had it way before that.
Yeah.
Like, how long have you had... You've had your 3DS since, what, March?
Yeah, and I got it, like, right when it came out.
Right, so you've had this since... You had it 4 months more than I did.
I also, like, kick myself in the butt because I'm a completionist.
See, so am I, and I had to fight that urge the whole damn time playing this.
I couldn't fight the urge. I set up 2 different files, one like towards the end, one so I could finish the game, which I mean did not happen because of technical difficulties. And then another just so I could like continue with all of the quests to get up to like level 90s.
Is this with the technical difficulties? Are you talking about the one that you texted me about yesterday?
Yes. I've still not gotten over it to continue playing.
I wish we could talk about it, but we can't spoil it. Basically, Paige was on the second to last boss, which is, like, it took me 2 hours to beat that. Because it's a long boss. And what was it, like, you didn't update your system and the game crashed?
Yeah, the game crashed. I was just about to, like, defeat him, and then, like, the game paused, and I'm like, maybe this is an extra feature?
Oh.
And then, like, it was, like, error message appeared, and, like, the game didn't allow you, like, for the last, like, probably good couple hours of the game, it doesn't let you save.
Wait. Oh yeah, it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't let you save.
Because there's no point where you can, because you're just in console. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I beat it a month ago, I'd say at this point. I think what the difference was is I went on a 1.5 week vacation. And I literally just played it the whole time while I was gone. Like, literally nonstop, would wake up. I at least played it on that week-long vacation 6 hours a day. So that knocked out a good chunk of it for me.
And it's easy to, like, get into those addictive modes with this game where you just, like, sit down and you're like, oh man, like, 8 hours went by and I didn't even realize it. The sun is now setting. I started this when it was rising.
9 o'clock. I think I could knock out a couple hours of this. Oh god, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah. So many nights spent like that.
So, this, I mean, the story of this is actually, they build a huge sci-fi universe with this. The idea is that, this breed of, I'm just going to call them humans. They look like humans. Their names in the game are something completely different. But they live on these two giant mechanical beasts that make up this world. And our story follows Shulk and his friends as this army of machines called the Mechanis just absolutely destroying everything. And the only thing that can defeat these machines is a weapon known as a Monardo. And for the longest time, Shulk's friend Dunban is believed to be the only person that can control the Monardo until a certain situation happens and everyone realizes, oh my god, Shulk can control it too! And guess what? He kind of does it better! Which is weird, because I love how up until that moment they build up that Shulk isn't like the typical hero, he's more like the scientist kid. Like, yeah, he knows a lot about the Monardo, but he's not the type of person like you would strike as a fighter until he picks that thing up and just starts wrecking it. Everyone's like,
the nerd boy can do something!
he can flip and jump and kill these things! Why do we have you doing it?
But that also carries through the game, like it always is brought up, too.
Yeah, oh, it is. Like, that's one of the things that this game does so great is it takes the time to build all of its characters, and at first it kind of comes off as like they're building them in quirky ways, but as the game goes on, it does delve more into their psyche, their relationships with everyone else, and it does an excellent job, more than I think a lot of these JRPGs do, at making you like these guys. Because one of my big things with JRPGs is that everyone's always so depressed, so emotional, like, so, oh, why do we have to do this? And really the only two series I think kind of get away from that is Kingdom Hearts and this.
Yeah. It did remind me of a Kingdom Hearts vibe where it's like fight for your friends and like just all friendship, be positive, even though like it gets really like
Dark.
Really dark.
And that's the other thing, I gotta give the story a lot of credit. It's not afraid to go to those dark places. There are specific moments where you do want to, like, just the story alone makes you want to chuck your 3DS across the room because you're just like, no, that's not supposed to happen. Like, that's not how this works. I want a happy ending, damn it, and this is not leading to a happy ending.
Yeah, even from like the beginning, it kind of like...
Oh yeah, within the first 30 minutes there's a huge plot twist, and you're
like,
just like, what the hell?
I think that's also what this game did really well was the plot twist, because you'd like get into cutscenes where it was like plot twist on plot twist on plot twist, but it would still set you up for more questions. And I was like, okay. And
it doesn't do it in a melodramatic or like just out of nowhere way. And I think the reason why is like it does set up that this is a fantasy world within the first, minutes of this game. So whenever these crazy plot twists happen in terms of the sci-fi elements of this game, it doesn't feel crazy to you. Like, it's just like, oh, this is just the world, okay. But with the character moments, none of those are really that crazy. Like, there's nothing that's completely out of left field where you go, oh, BS. Like, and that's, once again, with JRPGs, that's a big problem that this genre has. Is like, they'll do, like, a character will betray everyone, but it will just be so out of left field that you're like, no, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And there's no moment like that to me in this game.
No, because, like, when you go and, like, look back, there's always, like, those moments of foreshadowing where you're like, that's it.
Yeah, it's not done, like, oh, right in your face. It's done subtly.
Yeah.
I think another thing that lends to that is that all the voice acting in this game is phenomenal.
I always made a point to, like, keep my sound on, just because even when you're fighting and, like, battling, they throw these little quips at each other.
Yeah.
And it keeps it, like, entertaining, like, you just want to keep going at it.
Well, it's also this thing of, like, it makes all the emotional scenes work. Like, I should have looked up before we started this. I forgot to, who exactly was the American voice actors. There was a lot of British type voices to this game, but the guy who voiced Shulk brought such a layered, detailed character to him. And even in just like when you play him in Super Smash Brothers, you see that character.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, for only having a couple lines of dialogue even in that game, that's really a testament to that voice actor to bring that much character to him. And he does it, whenever he voices him, he does it in every single line.
It would be like, for the Smash one, it's like comparing it to the I Am Groot.
Yeah.
Like how many times, like, it's just like 3 words.
Right.
Said, like, in so many different ways for emotion.
Right. And that's, like, he brings so much to this character. And that's kind of, like, not everyone's as strong as Shulk's voice actors. I think the only one that comes close is the woman who voiced Fiora, who also does a really excellent job. Fiora is one of the side characters that you do get to play as. You get to play as, I think it's 7 playable characters throughout the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Fiora is one of the secondary characters you get to play at, and she is Shulk's love interest. But she's not the typical damsel in distress. She has just as much character as Shulk does.
Oh, yeah. And this is gonna, like, Aaron would love this comment and be all over this aspect. But, like, it's not pitting women up against each other in this game. Like, I thought for
No, not at all.
There was a moment where I'm like, we're going down that road. It's gonna be, like, Love Triangle City. And then, like, I was like, oh, cool. It's, like, women supporting each other.
They drop that. They drop that really quick because in this Party 7, there's another woman character named Myrda.
I always said, like, Melia.
Yeah, it was really weird pronouncing. Like, whenever any character said it, you're right. Every character said it differently. You're like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
So, Myrda, like, you're right. You think you're going to go down that love triangle thing between the 3 of them. Myrda's just like, nope, you were here first. Go get him. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Like,
I saw that and I, like, had so much more respect for this game because I was like, as soon as that happens, I'm going to be so ticked off.
yeah, it was one of those things. In terms of the gameplay, because we haven't really talked about that yet, it is a JRPG. It is an RPG at its core. It's the whole leveling up system. But it works more on like how the new Final Fantasy games are working, where it's free-flowing combat at all times, although I argue that this does it better than Final Fantasy, because this gives you so much to do during the fights. Like, there's no moment within a fight that you don't feel like you are controlling it. And for an RPG to pull that off, it takes a lot.
Yeah. And I would say, like, I realize this more and more going into the game is it's kind of like more of a strategy when you're picking when you pick the arts, which is like your special talents that isn't just like automatically attacking. But you find like a rhythm that you need to get into for each of the opponents.
Yeah, because each of the arts have these like categories and effects that they do, and sometimes the effects can work off of each other to do specific things. Like it can topple enemies, which will allow you to have more damage on them. It could freeze enemies so everyone can attack and not have to worry about getting injured. There are these little nuances to the whole combat scheme of this whole game that really makes it layered.
Even just like, I was just thinking about this and how you have these branches of skills that you have to like make sure you're always focusing on, so you know like each branch has a different skill set, and then within those branches are like more skill sets that you're trying to work up.
Yeah.
Then you have those gems that you can equip onto your equipment. The equipment itself, like everything is just such fine details. Like you have to remember, oh, have I checked this lately? I need to make sure I'm up to date with that.
Because that was a problem I ran into more towards the beginning, is that I kind of ignored that at first. I was just like, yeah, it's an RPG, I'll get the super armor at some point, and then I'll be fine. And then I started getting my butt kicked time after time after time after time. And I was just like, oh, this does barely anything to my stats, but I might as well start equipping it. And then I stopped dying. So I was like, okay, even the littlest change to the stats of these characters affects so much, and that's insane.
And you also have to like pay attention to the characters.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have the same where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna give them like all of this strength because like strength is good. Strength like will make you win. And then like they give you tips about the characters, and I decided like for once to actually pay attention to it.
That was a good move on your part.
And Dunban's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm like Ryan, who's like this powerhouse character, And he goes, I'm like him, but I focus on agility, so don't give me, like, strength. And I'm like, this explains so much why I'm failing now.
Once again, ignored that. So it wasn't until, like, I'd say almost halfway through the game that I finally took a look at that, because I was just like, these characters don't, like, I feel like they're not doing as well as they should. And so I went in and saw that. I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I've been doing this all wrong. So as soon as I changed that, it was like that click switched in my head of, like, RPG. It's like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Ah. And then I kind of plowed through the game after I figured that out. Because if you're smart enough at RPGs, it's not that difficult. If. It's a big if. If you are good at these very layered, detailed RPGs, once you figure out the mechanics of everything, its difficulty level does tend to drop.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, just like me, that people like that will start to grind. Yeah. As soon as they enter like a new area that they see a bunch of new enemies, it's grinding time, and that's exactly what I did. So once I realized it was a new area, went into grinding time, I didn't really have difficulty with the sub-bosses and mini-bosses, and even the main bosses I didn't really have trouble with.
And that is one of the big warnings that you see online about the game, is, like, make sure that you don't, like, overpower yourself for the final boss. Which, I mean, final boss is, like, around level something.
I was at 70s when I got to the final.
Oh man, I give you credit.
So.
I give you credit.
I can tell you it took a while, but yeah, it really is one of these things where if you go through and just make your team the supreme leader of badasses, you will breeze through this game. I don't recommend doing that though, because I think it does kind of take away, it doesn't let you explore the world as much if you just sit there in a specific area, because the enemies ultimately, if you even just turn your back, they respawn.
Yeah.
So, it kind of takes away from that. One of the other things, before I forget about it, that I have to really praise about this game is that when you die, your stats don't go back.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that at first, and, like, when you collect stuff, that stays, because I was like, oh man, I have to, like, restart this.
It is very lenient with death. It's not... Well, it kind of has this weird line of, like, it's lenient with death, but it's not at the same time, because it does send you back a while when you die.
Yeah.
But you keep all the, all the stats that you've leveled up, like, if you've leveled up, all the things you've collected, that all stays the same. It's just you get sent back a good 20 minutes.
Plus, like, it sucks if, like... Because it sends you back to, what, the landmarks? So
yes.
It doesn't send you back to your save point.
Nope.
And so if you, like, traveled, like, a far while, and, like, there's some places where, like, you go to the landmark and you have to walk a really long time to, like, get to the place you're at, it sucks to get sent back to the landmark again.
That was the one main criticism I have of this game, and I'm hoping X fixes it. There has got to be some sort of driving mechanic or thing to go around the world faster for X.
I'm just gonna drop this in for X, is like, since it's machines and, like, you're driving around, I'm hoping it's fast to travel.
They have to. That's the biggest problem with this game, is just like, I get it. You're walking around and you're kind of taken back by everything around you because they take such time to detail these worlds, but oh my god.
So much time spent traveling. So much.
Oh my god. And if you are low on health, and there's enemies chasing you in these big lands...
This sounds like a huge...
Who thought that was a good idea?
This sounds like a huge personal problem that you've experienced.
Oh, God.
And it sucks when more enemies pick up on you also, and so they join the chase.
Yeah, because, like, when you go into battles, it's kind of like Kingdom Hearts, where, like, when you're not battling, you're just kind of running around. But when you're in battle, you draw your weapons, everyone's good to go. and you fight until you defeat all the enemies in an area. Your health also does not start regenerating until that fight is done. So you're right. If you fight all the enemies and you think you're done, but two little Striders like, hey, we want to join the party. It's just like, get out of here. No.
Even worse is when there's like a secret like huge like level enemy there.
Oh god!
And you're like, I can totally handle this. They're like all these enemies are like around my level, and you're like picking them off, and all of a sudden you get hit by like one attack. And you're like, where did that come from?
Oh my god! Okay, that bit me in the butt the first part of the game when you get into that freaking cave. I was defeating all these little dung beetles. I was like, this is great. And then Mama Dung Beetle's just like, you killed my baby. I was like, where did you come from?
Okay, that's the thing that I really loved, and I remember I like was freaking out at one day about this. Is he like you just started the game and you're like, oh yeah, like I'm at this part because I was like asking like, oh, where are you at in the game, and like I just remember responding, so like I'm at this part where like enemies literally just materialize as you're walking when there's nothing there.
It was that, and it was the fact that like when Big Mama Beetle came out, I was like, all right, well, can't be that hard, right? I go to hit it, not even a dead. And she hits me, it's like I'm down to like 2 HP from like 600. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Why would you throw that at me? Like, why would you put that in here when you know I'm not going to be able to beat it?
Yep. And then I think that's what I appreciate though with the enemies though, is that there's different kinds of enemies that pick up on your pick up on you.
Oh, yeah.
There's like sight, people like enemies you can just like walk right by.
Yeah.
Sound, and then there's like the ether, which is like magic.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That does bring a lot of enemy variation. There's a lot of enemies in this game too. There's a lot.
There's a
of
lot.
enemies.
They also keep them into families, which is really cool.
Yes, it categorizes them, which helps you strategize against them. I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot about that. Another big thing, I guess it's a weird criticism of this game. I consider it one, just like a very minor one because I know there's people who would care about it. The amiibo support in this game is practically nothing.
I actually had it written down about the amiibo support and all of like, no.
It's nothing, okay? It's like, they put on the box the amiibo thing and it's like, you can use the Shulk amiibo. What? We don't know. Try and find out. And it's like, here's $10 in in-game currency.
Not even that. You get 3. You get 3 like coins, which you can get from when you like spot pass people.
Yeah, you realize like when you get in the game, it's like I hope that people like boot it up for the first time. They like put the Shulk amiibo on, like 3 coins. I bet you that's gonna give me something great. And then you see it's like essentially like if I threw 3 pennies at you.
Yeah.
You got the $50 Shulk amiibo. Congratulations. Here's a penny for your problems.
It's not even pennies, it's Monopoly money. They throw Monopoly money at you.
I mean, like, God, that was one of the big disappointing things. Like, even just unlocking the soundtrack with the Shulk amiibo, I would have taken.
Yeah, I would take it, like, even if the gear wasn't, like, all the top notch, like...
Just a different gear every day.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
Different gear, like... I don't know, even like a different crystal to get, or like something that like gives you something inside the game.
Oh man, that was one of the big the 2 big stickling points I have about this. I mean, this game is amazing, but the 2 big stickling points I have was that there's no fast travel, which is BS for a game this big.
No.
Like someone should have looked at it and said, guys, I think we got a problem. And that amiibo support, as minute as it is, there are people who care about that, especially because up until 2 weeks ago, the Shulk amiibo was really hard to find.
And like, I would just like to point out that I was talking about like, oh, it'd be cool to get gear or whatever for it that's like special to the amiibo. And like, I was saying that before I even had the amiibo.
Yeah.
I didn't have it until it became like really easy to find.
Yeah, up until Nintendo was like, oh, I guess this character is more popular than we thought it was.
So it wasn't like I'm saying that with like, oh, ha ha ha, I had the Shulk amiibo the entire time. No, that was not the case.
I did, and even I think it's pitiful what they did.
Well, there's a point where I was like, oh, I'm having difficulty with like this one part, and you guys were like, oh, do you want to use our Shulk amiibo to help you through? I'm like, I would love to take that offer up if it actually did that.
If it was like Smash Brothers, like your Smash fighter just went in there, oh, Dewey! Like,
Shirtless,
oh my god!
Shirtless Shulk all the time then.
Oh man. Oh, that's I never had Shulk do that at any point in the game. I'm sure you did.
I sent...
Not sounding sexist, but I'm sure that you did.
I mean, there's, me and Aaron took the pictures of, like, all the
that's
characters,
right.
sent them back and forth.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to say? I think I've said everything I want to say.
I can't really think of anything. Like, probably as soon as we're done, I'm gonna be like, oh, there's that.
Oh yeah, the boss fights. Those were actually fun. The boss fights are very long.
They just never end.
They never end.
You think they end, and then you're like, oh great, they ended. No,
They
they
reminded me of, if you've ever played the Mario and Luigi series.
I have some.
Mario and Luigi series, that's the same thing, where it's like the boss, and you'll be sitting there for an hour, and you're just like, when are you gonna die? Just when can you be defeated so I can move on in this freaking game? And I felt the same way about the bosses in these. It's not to say that they aren't fun, it's just, oh my god, they are long. So...
It's like, you gotta be committed when you start a boss fight,
Yep.
and also, like, naturally the cutscenes. Like, I was...
Make sure you got an hour, hour and a half for a boss, at least.
You, like... People, like, try to get your attention, you're like, oh, sorry, nope. And you're like, I think 10 more minutes and I'll be good, and then, like, 10 minutes comes by, and you're like, another 10 minutes.
When you're sitting in bed at 11 at night, and you know you don't have to wake up the next morning, you say to yourself, I should get some sleep, I should go to bed at midnight, but you know you're not going to do it. You know you're going to bed at 1:30. That's the perfect time to pick up the game for a boss fight.
Yes. Did think of something else, though, about things, like, you don't know when you first start, the trading system.
Oh, yes!
The trading system is something that I was like, this is stupid.
I never used it, so please talk about that.
The trading system saves your life. The trading system is also what, like, condemned me at one point. The trading system helps if you want to get through all of these, like, little side quests, because it's like, oh, here's this impossible item.
Yeah, I had to ignore that too.
Yep, it's like, here's this impossible item that, like, this, like, level million boss can drop, or you can just go to, like, some guy that's, like, running a stand in this place. Just go to him and, like, you press Y and, like, they're like, let's trade. You trade, and, like, it's done. You don't have to fight anyone. You don't have to, like, be screaming at your 3DS until you find out that there's some points when you're no longer allowed to trade with them, and then you look for an item that has a spawn rate of 8% for 8 hours. And then you kind of want to just cry and, like, be done with your life. And it was a really miserable time.
I'm so glad I avoided that. Oh, that probably would have brought the game down in my eyes.
Trading, I highly suggest. There's also a gifting system, which sucks. It's right up there with the amiibo support, and it's absolutely pointless.
So, grade-wise, what would you give this from an A to F scale?
I would say probably an A.
Really?
A, like, B+.
I go more B+ just because, I've only played one game this year so far that deserved an A to me.
And that?
That was Arkham Knight.
Mm.
And that was, I did that written review on the Tanooki, you can find it. But that game did so much right for me, and I think there was only one little minor thing that bothered me about that game. There are factors of this game that bother me. I think it's a massive game. I think it, for people who like to go through games quickly, not the game for you. No. My playthrough, I finished with 109 hours.
I hate you.
What are you up to? I'm almost afraid to ask.
I broke 200.
My point. So, it is a massive RPG. It is a massive undertaking. We plan to have this review done in August.
So, if you plan on having a life, just don't expect to have a life.
Right. Like, if you are a person that has a life, you're going to knock this game out over the course of 4 or 5 months. That's just how it is. Now, that being said, it is the type of game that's worth it for that. It's very fun, it's very inventive, it's very creative, its art design is beautiful, its soundtrack is beautiful. There's so much detailed about the game that it's hard not to ignore, in both its gameplay and the world that it builds, with its characters and its visuals. Like, it's so hard to ignore how much time and effort was put into this game and how focused they were at making something pretty damn unique and fun. So, you know what, now saying all that, I give it an A-.
Yeah, it's like in between there.
Yeah, it's teetering on B plus A minus, and I can't wait for X.
I would suggest that if you want the background of like the whole Minato stuff and the world, I mean X doesn't line up with it like perfectly in a linear fashion, but
Yeah, they've already said it's
Yeah.
not going to.
I would totally suggest though starting the game as soon as possible before X.
If you have gone out and gotten the new 3DS, there's no reason why you shouldn't have this game.
Especially since
At least to just try it out.
yeah. And like it might take a while to get into it. It took me a while to get into it. When
It
I
did with
first
me
started.
too. It did with me too.
But like once you get to a certain point, you're like you're in it for the end.
Yeah, it pulls the same thing that some people argue that some of the Fire Emblem games do, where it's like at first you're like, oh, this is kind of weird, and then like as soon as you're invested in the characters and you understand the stakes of everything, it's like okay, now full speed ahead going forward. But I think it is a game that it's developed this cult status over the last couple of years, and I think it damn well earned it.
Yeah.
So that's it for us today. If you want to find more reviews, just look at youtube.com/Tanooki. All of our reviews will be in a playlist. You can find any of them at any time. And we will be back next time. I am Lehew.
And I'm Paige.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.